Ladies and gentlemen, in this video I want to talk to you guys about some performance updates for Nvidia's RTX 50 series of graphics cards that I've been hearing, plus also some release updates. Now 2024 is definitely turning into the year of the CPU. Ryzen 9000, the next generation of Arrow Lake processors, all going to launch this year. Maybe even we will see the X3D variant of Zen 5 too, but CPUs, well, they're not perhaps as exciting for many gamers anyway as the GPU. Let's face it, there's something very cool about new GPU releases. Now, some of my sources for quite some time were telling me that AMD were not going to be releasing RDNA 4 this year. Despite all of the Linux patches we were seeing and a lot of rumours to the contrary, I was being told by a few sources that AMD were looking to launch in 2025, and well, this seems to be bearing out from other sources now on the internet, with other reports stating that it's going to be Q1 for N48 and N44 will launch in Q2. But some of those same sources are telling me that Blackwell is going to be delayed until 2025. Now, I don't exactly know why there is a delay. In fact, some sources are saying one thing, for example, it's supply constraints with GDDR7, but then others are telling me, no, that is certainly not the case, and honestly, I can't be 100% certain. However, there also were those leaked roadmaps, but this is for mobile, so of course there is generally a delay for the mobile parts versus the desktop. But more recently, Coppertite7 Kimmy, who's a very well-known leaker on Twitter, tweeted, because it's Twitter, that he is now hearing that CES is going to be the date that basically Nvidia are going to be announcing the RTX 50 series. And if so, of course, that is going to be very interesting. Now, the obvious question is, what about Intel as well? Like, are they also going to be delaying Battlemage? Honestly, I don't know, guys, regarding Battlemage. I'm hearing absolutely nothing. I did leak the roadmap, but that was showing mid this year for the release of Battlemage, and obviously we've heard absolutely nothing. I've reached out to sources that everyone's just in the dark of what actually is happening and the exact cause of the delay. Some people are saying they're still bringing up the GPUs a little, others are pointing the finger towards the software. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. What does matter, however, is that 2024 is seemingly going to be pretty quiet on the GPU front. But I also have some information pertaining to the performance targets of RTX 50, also known as Blackwell. And they are pretty interesting, and that's putting it quite mildly. Now, the source who gave me this information has been pretty accurate on several things. For one, they told me the release date for Blackwell was going to be delayed, and now again, Coppertite7 is saying the same thing. Actually, to be fair, a couple of sources told me there was going to be a delay in Blackwell for 2025, and they also told me other things like the clock frequency targets. But what is quite interesting here is that they are also referencing a card that I personally haven't heard of before, and that is the Titan AI. I'll speculate more of what I think this is in just a moment, but the other caveat, of course, is that Nvidia themselves haven't exactly finalized the specifications of the various SKUs that we're going to be talking about, i.e. the number of SMs can certainly change, the clock frequencies, the bus configuration for the memory, and so on and so on. And obviously those can have pretty meaningful ramifications to the performance targets, i.e. very simply, if they reduce the clock frequency of the memory and they reduce, let's say, the number of SM, well, the performance targets are going to differ a little bit. With that said, I have run this by another source and they told me this looks about right with current plans, but again, this can change up until the release. So we'll get more into what I think the Titan AI is in just a second, but according to the information I have so far anyway, it's going to be roughly 63% faster than the 4090. The 5090 is going to be 48% faster than the 4090. Now, do bear in mind, this is where things get a little more complicated to follow, so listen quite closely. The 4080 Super to the 5080, we're going to see a 29% bump in performance, and the 4070 Super versus the 5070 is going to be a 26% bump in performance. Now, I am told that this is raster performance. However, I wasn't given which benchmark it is, so it's very difficult to be 100% certain whether, for example, it's a number of games, i.e. let's say 3, 5, 10 titles, or whether it's one synthetic benchmark in raster. And the second point is I'm told that the ray tracing performance is higher. Now, we have heard RT performance for Blackwell is a pretty big leap over Lovelace, but again, at this point, I don't have specifics. It seems that if this is true, however, it's pretty decent, at least for the higher end parts, but I'll leave it for you guys to debate the lower end SKUs in the comments below. I don't have any performance targets aside from those. So for example, lower end variants like the 5060 or whatever, I don't have performance targets for that. Now again, I do want to stress that I ran this by another source and they told me that they do think this is correct, but at this point, the specifications have different configurations for even the 1590. I'll get into the specifics of that in just a second, but I do want to just tackle the Titan AI thing. Now, I have only heard of a Titan variant, and what I heard regarding the Titan is it's pretty much the same thing that we've seen for other Titans, i.e. it's just more stuff enabled on the die with more memory. Now, the rumor is that the 1590's current configuration is a 448-bit bus. I believe it was Panzerlied on Chip Hell who first leaked that. And as far as I understand, that is one possible configuration for the 1590, but it has not been 100% ratified. It's like very likely, but very likely is not. This is the final production target. Now, assume, however, just for a moment that is true, and that's what Nvidia go with. It's possible that the Titan AI is basically a wider bus, more memory, and Nvidia just enables more SMs. Now again, whether they release that thing, because there were all those rumors for the RTX 40 Titan, and obviously it just didn't materialize, and instead they shoved all of that towards professional usage. However, my theory is the fact that they're calling it AI, maybe it's going to be for like kind of like a niche marketing thing. It's like AI wink, as in we're going to say it's for AI, you know, we're just going to load the thing up with a crap ton of VRAM, but we also know that gamers are going to want to pick this card up as well. Who knows on that, honestly. It's going to be interesting. Now, regarding the RTX 5090's configuration, I'm told at the moment that one possible configuration is around 160 SM, maybe a little more, but again around 160. I'm also told that in terms of the power consumption figures, another source told me that they're testing 460, 490, and 550 watts. Now do note that another piece of information that has popped up online is from a PSU manufacturer. I believe it was Seasonic, but potentially I'm wrong on that. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments and it'll pop up on screen anyway. And basically, they were leaking that it was 500 watts for the 5090 GPU. However, that does come with an asterisk the size of the planet Mars. Basically, it's possible that A, that is guesswork, and B, they also leaked, quote-unquote leaked, a number of other SKUs from AMD that literally do not exist. Now, it's possible that basically they just made a mistake and they just threw a bunch of different crap online, possibly stuff that was maybe initially planned and then changed, whatever. Either way, at least as far as I understand it, AMD has no plans for those products, so maybe they were operating on older information. What is going to be interesting, though, is if this is next year, 2025, it's going to be very interesting to see how the market responds, honestly, and what the sales of GPUs are for the remainder of this year. Obviously, you know, if Nvidia continues its general trajectory of releases, it launches the high-end parts first, of course, and then we see the mid-range. But I do partly wonder if they are going to change things. This is not a leak, but I mean, they could do one of two things. If AMD releases RDNA 4, that's going to be mid-range, at least according to all the rumors. The performance targets are roughly raster-wise, if I can speak, on par with the 7900 XTX. I say roughly because, you know, even if it's like 10 or 20% difference, who cares? It's, you know, pretty much the ballpark, right? But the ray tracing is allegedly much faster, as I covered in a video yesterday. But in terms of the high flagship performance, they simply don't have anything to compete with the 5080 or presumably the 5090. So I do wonder if Nvidia are, one, going to just go down the normal traditional route that they have been, you know, all this time, and just pushing the high-end parts first, or two, they're going to release products also in the mid-range to try to cannibalize some of the RDNA 4 sales. They could do either, honestly, from a marketing perspective. I personally don't really think Nvidia are going to change things, but who knows. With that said, I think that's just about it for this particular video. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye for now.